Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. Bungie just posted the final TWAB before the launch of Lightfall and Season of Defiance. The post does a great job of summarizing the deluge of information we've been receiving lately, so definitely go ahead and check that out. We also have, of course, all the coverage right here on the channel. If you've been missing out on any of the information, be sure to head on over to the Lightfall playlist that I created and catch up on anything you've missed. Now in this TWAB, we also got a full preview of the artifact perks coming in Season 20, and things are looking pretty good. I'm also going to touch on the weapon overcharge feature being added. I think there's a lot here that might make people feel a lot better about it. It might not be as restrictive as we might have initially thought. So without further ado, let's just jump in and break it all down. Alright, so before we begin, remember that the artifact mods are now artifact perks. That means that they are passive skills that are just always on. You no longer need to socket them into armor. This is a huge change, of course, as it was a massive sore spot for build crafting, with champions and other overly expensive mods taking up valuable slots and valuable energy. This frees that up. That's the give. The take is that now you can only again unlock 12 at a time, however at least resetting the artifact will be free. Also, as we go through these, don't you kind of wish instead of having to reset your artifact that you could just have different selections for your different builds and maybe save them into the loadouts? Okay, maybe that's getting a little too far ahead. Let's just get into column number 1. So these are the champion weapon selections. Again, they are perks now, so once you unlock one, they just automatically apply to all weapons of that archetype automatically. Now, big addition to column 1 is that in addition to these weapons being anti-champion, they are also overcharged. That's the new sort of concept modifier that's going to be coming in Season 20. For any activity that uses overcharge, these weapons will also automatically be overcharged. So that's a 25% increase in damage applied to these specific weapons, and they are being added to essentially every activity in the game that is legend or higher. So that different weapon archetype of any element will be doing 25% more damage in these activities. They are also replacing burn and singe modifiers with surge and threat, now two separate modifiers increasing outgoing and incoming damage by 25% respectively. There will be one seasonal surge, in this case it's Strand for Season 20, alongside with two rotating other surges, which is Void and Solar for Season 20. These surges and overcharges do not stack, so for instance, if you're taking the Strand hand cannon into a Grandmaster Nightfall, the weapon overcharge happens to be hand cannon and the surge is Strand, well, those are not going to stack and give you 50% or whatever. It's going to be a flat 25% because it meets at least one of those qualifiers. So with all of that information, it's not really as restrictive as at first sounded. Also, your kinetic weapon, no matter what it is, will become overcharged if your subclass happens to match the weekly or seasonal surge, which it probably will. So that's all of your kinetic weapons automatically overcharged. So I think that's kind of what they meant when they said that they want to give kinetic weapons some kind of real role inside of your build. This just automatically gives you that 25% for that entire slot. So ultimately, we're going to have to test this out for ourselves before we can render any real judgments. Of course, you know, Bungie's really good nowadays at listening to player feedback, so if it is a real pain point, I'm sure they're going to change things up. That's what this is all about. But anyways, moving on to column 1, we have anti-barrier sidearm, anti-barrier pulse rifle, overload bow, unstoppable scout, and automatics overload, and that is for auto rifles and submachine guns. So again, all of these weapons will be available as overcharge weapons on any activity that features any kind of overcharge. Moving on to column 2, we have the series of mods that lower the armor cost of mods. This is something new. They want to make build crafting, I think, even easier. So we have authorized mods solar. The armor energy cost of all armor mods affecting your solar weapons are significantly discounted, and we have the same thing for Strand and Void. Again, remember, these are the rotating surges for this coming season, so this is going to be huge for synergizing and building into single element loadouts. Then we have the same thing for grenade mods. They're going to be heavily discounted with authorized mods grenades. This is going to be huge for the grapple hook, since it is a grenade. If you want to be able to get your grapple on a lot faster and a lot more frequently, then this is going to be a huge mod for that, because you're going to be able to slot a lot more of those grenade specializing mods onto your armor for a lot cheaper. Multi-siphon mods, this is going to be kind of broken, I think, grants access to armor mods in your helmet that combine the effects of Strand Siphon mod with the Solar Siphon mod and the Void Siphon mod. So obviously huge for generating orbs for the new armor charge system. To have all of your equipped weapons able to siphon, orb generation is about to get kind of crazy. Next up, column 3, things get spicier. We have Shattered Orbs. The first time you break a combatant's shield, you create a Orb of Power if you break the shield with a matching damage type. I guess this is just so you don't just sort of farm orbs of power by letting them recharge their shield and then breaking it again. You can only do it on the first time you break a combatant's shield. Next up is Defiant Armory. Greatly improves the benefits provided by Noble Deeds, Nanotech Tracer Rockets, Text Balance Stock, and Ambush Origin traits. So some of the new ones coming in this next season, and of course a couple of the origin traits from previous seasons, all remaining relevant and all available in a single mod. Kind of a no-brainer. Next, we have Untangler. Destroying a tangle with a strand weapon suspends targets damaged by the explosion. That's going to be really cool. Next, we have Solar Surge. Collecting a fire sprite gives you armor charge. Fire sprites are, of course, the new elemental spawning object for solar. Think of them as like solar wells combined with ionic traces. The fragments are going to be what take advantage of that. But of course, here you can just unlock this mod and you can just get armor charges from picking up those fire sprites. Again, huge for the new armor charge system, and solar is about to sort of pop off a little bit, I think, low-key. Then finally, for column 3, we have the return of Volatile Flow. Picking up an Orb of Power grants your void weapons volatile rounds. This was massively successful this time last year, so I think it's going to be really fun again going into this next season, and I think we're going to be able to make some pretty amazing void builds, so that's going to be fun to explore. Column 4 begins with Bricks from Beyond. Defeating a powerful combatant with a void weapon has a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your teammates. Kind of clutch. Flare Up. Firebolt grenades apply more scorch stacks. Damaging a combatant with firebolt grenades spawn a fire sprite near them. So again, these fire sprites are going to be, I think, low-key kind of amazing. Now, Origin Hones, I think, kind of puts this whole conversation to rest, at least for now, because it says that weapons with the Noble Deeds, Nanotracing Rockets, Text Balance Stock, and Ambush Origin traits are always overcharged when that modifier is active. That is a lot of weapon sets, so any of the weapons that have these origin traits from this past season, from this next season, and this next expansion coming up, they are all going to be available as overcharged weapons when that modifier is active on any of the activities. Next up, we have Allied Unraveling. Rapid final blows with strand weapons grant your weapons unraveling rounds with longer durations near allies. So again, huge. And of course, the good news is we're getting a pretty good selection of strand weapons as we've seen in across these other trailers and videos. So lots of opportunity there to really build into strand, which I'm a huge fan of. And finally, for the fourth column, we have Counterweave. When you or a member of your fire team stuns or defeats a champion, you gain energy for your least charged strand ability. So again, huge into strand build crafting here. Big fan of it. Finally, column 5, we have Stranded Reach. Destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger and more damaging explosion. Rain of Firebolts. When you have firebolt grenades equipped, you gain a second grenade charge. Void Weapon Channeling. You gain temporary bonus to void weapons after you defeat a target with a void weapon, while at least one of your void abilities is charged. This damage bonus increases based on the number of fully charged void abilities you have. This can be kind of broken. I'm going to be really curious to see how much damage increase you can actually get, if it's really just up to 25%, or if it's like 25, 50, 75. That would be kind of nuts. I don't think it's going to be anything like that, but I'm going to be really curious to play around with this either way. Next up, we have Medieval Champion. This is kind of broken. I think this would easily be 8 or 9 energy in the old system, but it is Medieval Champion. First up, it has a addition to glaives that gives you a more powerful explosive payload. Glaives are also always overcharged, and also you can stop unstoppable champions. Then the second part of this one perk is that you also gain Overload Sword. And of course, this is kind of the coup de grace in my opinion, that swords are always overcharged in activities that use Overcharge, so you're going to be able to use Lament just fine in master content for things like Lightall. That's going to be a huge plus. And finally, we have Prismatic Transfer. When you cast your super, each member of your fire team with a subclass damage type different than yours gains a bonus to weapon damage. Again, I'm going to be curious to see what this is, if it's again that flat 25% to go at parity with Overcharge and Surge. My guess is that that's the case. I don't think it's going to stack, although with it being in the 5th column and it being sort of the last perk in that column, it might just be something crazy like 50%. We'll have to wait and see, but this is going to be great for those sort of well locks that want to continue to be that team support role. I think this might be one of those great options for that. So there we have it. That is the artifact for Season 20, Season of Defiance. I have to say it's certainly one of the most promising collections of artifact perks we've had, at least, you know, before we really dive into it and see how well these things play together. A lot of really great synergy here between the different mods and perks. A lot of great build crafting options here. So I'm going to be really excited to jump into it. What are you most excited to try out? Let's discuss that down below. Also, be sure to catch up on all of my previous Lightfall coverage if you have missed anything. We are just days away from launch and the hype could not be more real. I think this campaign is going to be absolutely insane. Let's just hope that the rest of the season remains interesting enough and fun. And I think these artifact mods are going to, or I should say perks, are going to be a huge help in that department. So drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on all of this amazing Lightfall information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.